Welcome to the Hello Lovely podcast. I'm your host, Christie Williams, and I teach women how to be themselves. As an exclusive life coach for women, I'll teach you how to manage anxiety, make decisions you're confident in, and stop beating yourself up. So let's get started. Hello lovelies, welcome back. Today we are going to go over the first ingredient in the 3-part series of a strong relationship with yourself. Those 3 ingredients are commitment, trust, and love. And if you have not looked at the graphic for that or listened to last week's episode, go back to last week's episode 38 on a recipe for a strong relationship, and you can listen and check the show notes to see what that looks like. Today, we're doing the first ingredient that I'm highlighting, which is commitment. And commitment has different stages. There's 4 of them, and we're going to go through them today. And commitment usually has a foundation that we don't see. Sometimes it might just feel like, all of a sudden we're committed. We're like, where did this come from? But it really has stages that are growing before we really notice it. I'm going to cover those today. It may feel like, because when you're full blown in commitment, like all in, which we'll get to, it may feel impulsive, as if you just immediately made this decision without any pre-thought. And as I go through the stages today, you're going to see how that's not actually the case. What happens is, because of the stages you go through, you actually make the decision, what feels immediate, but then you make it happen and decide this is for you, and you'll do whatever it takes based on the other stages you had as a foundation. So I can't wait to share this with you. Let's go over those 4 stages. So the first stage of commitment is the curious stage. This is really when you hear of something for the first time. It's the first time it really catches your awareness, goes in your ear or in your eye, and you learn it exists. You may have come across it before, but it's really the first time where it catches your awareness, it catches your attention. It's casual, something in passing. And you start thinking, that's interesting. That's weird. Never heard that before. Just what you would imagine would happen when you're curious. This is the first stage of commitment. The second stage is the interest stage. This is where it becomes a little bit more personal to you. So not only have you learned about it and that you're curious it exists, like an opportunity or something you want to go after, but now in the interest stage, you start to really think about, who else is doing this? I'd like to do it. What are the benefits for me? So in the interest stage, you're looking, but you don't think yet you're going to do it. It's actually quite an interesting stage, because this is really where, like, the desire for the drive that's coming in another stage, but this is really where the desire is created for it, is because you do in the interest stage start making it more personal to you. And really in the interest stage, this is one of the longer stages. It's one where you're really starting to consider how you could make it work, if you even did, because again, you're not committed to it yet, so there's not a lot of pressure. So you're looking and investigating, talking to people about it, haven't really made up your mind. That's the interest stage. The decision stage is the third stage. And the decision stage is the one that feels like this is really where commitment is made. This is what feels like it's the first time we've really realized we wanted to be committed to it. But it's not necessarily something we've heard for the first time, even if it may feel like that. Because when you're in full-blown commitment in the decision stage, which I'm also calling the all-in stage. Decision stage is the all-in stage. It feels impulsive. You make this decision immediately. It feels like you make it happen, and you decide this is for you, and you're going to do whatever it takes. If it costs money, you figure it out. If it involves other people, you get them involved. This is where the decision is made to commit in the decision stage. This is when more than one decision is made. This is the stage that includes preparing, planning, investing, whatever is required for this specific goal is made in the decision stage. But usually the decision stage is not very long. It's very decisive because you're making a decision. And you realize when you go through these stages that it's not actually impulsive at all. It's just that the moment you decide, you're all in. And so this is a critical stage because this is the stage that you realize it's not only possible for you, but that it is inevitable. Like this is something you're not only capable of, you're not only interested, you're not just curious about, you are doing it. Which is why I'm also calling it the all-in phase. This one feels the most exciting. This one feels the most life-changing because there's so much emotion behind it that catches our attention. You know, all emotions have a different level of feeling. And when you're all in and you're making a decision from that place, it just feels so powerful. So this is the one that we normally attribute to making a commitment. So it is such a critical stage, and now you can be aware of it when you make decisions to commit. But really, the fourth stage, commitment, that's actually the fourth stage of commitment. Commitment is the stage that gets applied to keep you going even when you don't feel like it. So, you know, that excitement that comes with the decision stage, that is not always going to be there at that level. It peaks and wanes based on what you're thinking about, if you're making redecisions to commit. But commitment, the fourth stage of commitment, is the longest one. It's you being committed, no matter how long it takes, no matter what happens, and you figure things out. Sometimes it's simple. Sometimes it's easy. Sometimes it feels hard. But when you are in the fourth stage of commitment, which is committed, you know you are not quitting. It's just not an option. And that's why you may even hear people say, I thought I was committed. I thought I was all in, but they only got to the first 3 stages. And this is why I want you to know this right now, is because to be committed, which is the fourth stage of commitment, is that you're not relying on your emotions to determine whether or not you're going to do something. Now, what this doesn't mean is that you don't take care of yourself. What this doesn't mean is that you wear yourself out. It means you're going to take care of yourself and not quit. And believe it or not, when you are in that stage of commitment, options and solutions are always available. They may change, and you may change the way that you go after what you're committed to, but the commitment keeps going. And what's helpful here is to go back through the stages regularly, even in something when you feel committed. So when you're in that fourth stage of commitment, it is so valuable to do a weekly check-in, a monthly check-in, determine what works for you. And in the beginning, I highly recommend a weekly check-in. I'm going to tell you how to do this, but this takes you through those stages again to remotivate you. This is a self-guided tour you can use to remotivate yourself. This is also something that's used in coaching in different forms when you forget why you're doing something or when you feel stuck. This is why coaching is so valuable. And this is just a tiny, tiny piece of it. But here's how you do it. Number 1, you decide when you're going to do your check-in, and you don't just wait for a moment when it feels hard. Like, oh, now I got to bolster myself up because it's feeling hard. Doing the weekly check-in, knowing exactly when you're going to do it, just pick the day, whether it's Sunday, Monday, whatever the day is, and schedule 30 minutes to do what I'm about to describe for you, to do the check-in. It keeps your focus on why you did it, why you committed, why you made the decision. Shows you can make that decision again and be committed in that fourth stage. Being solid, knowing it's working, and you're all in and you're going to do it. And you also get to, in this check-in, really get to see the power that you have to create the way your experience feels. So if something is feeling extra hard for you, going through the check-in is going to help you check back in with yourself and be like, what about the way I'm thinking about this is making it more of a struggle for me? Can I take that out and just do the things? Okay. And if you want more help with that, if I'm going through these stages, you're like, man, I'd love to be able to just have that for myself and grow that and really know that that commitment is there. Go ahead and schedule your consult. Like, don't wait to put off what's important to you. And taking care of yourself and a relationship with yourself is so important. So don't worry, I'm going to tell you how to work with me at the end. So this is what you do. You set aside the 30 minutes as a check-in for yourself and go through the stages on paper, starting with the interest stage. Okay? So remember, in that interest stage, you were thinking, ooh, these are the benefits for me. I'd like to do it, and this is why. You're going to do that in your weekly check-in. You're going to remind yourself, why was this interesting to me in the first place? And how are you still committed to that? Okay. The next one you're going to go through is that decision stage. How were you feeling in the decision stage when you were all in? Remember, you were excited, driven. Offer to yourself that you can feel that right now. Why were you excited? Why were you driven? Write those down. Okay. And then when you get to the last one of committed, write out how you're going to treat yourself through the process for the rest of this week when quitting is not an option. Are you going to take care of yourself? Are you going to make this experience as simple as possible for yourself? Are you going to complain or are you going to support yourself? There's a difference between complaining and solution finding. Okay? One drives you right out of your commitment, which is complaining, if you haven't guessed. And the other one addresses potential obstacles and creates solutions. So we don't pretend that there aren't obstacles. We don't pretend that things can be physically hard, mentally hard. But instead of complaining, you equip yourself with solutions to those obstacles. And you know what? When you're feeling committed in that fourth stage, it's not always driven. It's not always like, yeah, I'm all in. Sometimes in a check-in, you can reignite that driven feeling and it feels great. But also sometimes in the check-in, you're curious, you're interested. You don't have to be high level energy to be committed. And you guys, hey, if you're driving, if you're doing something else, I'm about to say something really important. You don't have to beat yourself up to be committed. In fact, the more love you show yourself through each week, the more commitment grows and is easier to access. What? Yes, it's pretty cool. And again, check out the graphic from last week's episode. You'll see how love drives commitment, and you get to see the visual for that. I've linked it in the show notes for you. I promise you it's a lot simpler and creates a completely different experience when you love yourself more, not beating yourself up, okay? Loving yourself more does not mean that you forget everybody else and now you're self-absorbed. It just means you don't criticize yourself through the process. That's really the biggest piece. It's one of the biggest pieces. There's so many more pieces, and we're going to get into that when we get onto the love episode, okay? So I'm not going to cover a lot of that today. But that's why it's so valuable to drop your inner critic, because all those mean things and critical things you say to yourself, they just don't motivate you or make you committed to yourself. Be your supporter. Use these 4 stages to keep commitment fresh and your results as good as done in your mind. Because when you have commitment, you trust you'll follow through, and they go hand in hand. And there you have it. One of the 3 ingredients in the 3-part series to a strong relationship. listen in next week to get the next one. We've got love and trust. Those are to follow. And for those of you who want to work with me, I'm going to tell you how to do that. Go to www.misschristiewilliams.com, click on Work with Christie, and schedule your consult. You can fill out the application there. And once I receive it and you qualify, we're going to meet and we're going to talk about you and the way to get a strong relationship with yourself, which of course is the filter for everything else you're doing. All right, lovelies, love you so much. Have a fantastic week, and I'll see you next time. Hey, lovely, if you want to be more confident on the outside, you have to start on the inside. If you don't take time to create an amazing relationship with yourself, it will show up in every other area of your life. If you feel stuck or don't know how to be yourself, I invite you to work with me one-on-one. Go to misschristiewilliams.com and sign up for a free call to join my 6-month program. That's MSCHRISTIE Williams.com, and I'll see you in session.